Today's story is called The Donkey Cabbages, from the Brothers Grimm. There was once a young huntsman who went to the forest to lie in wait. He had a fresh and joyous heart, and as he was going thither, whistling upon a leaf, an ugly old crone came up and spoke to him and said, "Good day, dear huntsman. Truly you are merry and contented, but I am suffering from hunger and thirst. Do give me an alms." The huntsman had compassion on the poor creature, felt in his pocket, and gave her what he could afford. He was about to go further, but the old woman stopped him and said, "Now listen, dear huntsman, do what I tell you. I shall make you a present in return for your kindness. Go on your way now, but in a while you will come to a tree whereon 9 birds are sitting which have a cloak in their claws and are plucking at it. Take your gun and shoot into the midst of them, and they'll let the cloak fall to you. But one of the birds will be hurt and will drop down dead. Carry away the cloak. It is a wishing cloak, and when you throw it over your shoulders you have only to wish to be in a certain place, and you will be there in the twinkling of an eye. Take out the heart of the dead bird and swallow it whole, and every morning early when you get up you will find a gold piece under your pillow." The huntsman thanked the wise woman and thought to himself, "Those are fine things she's promised me, if all does but come true." Verily, when he had walked about 100 paces, he heard in the branches above him such a screaming and twittering, he looked up, and there saw a crowd of birds who were tearing a piece of cloth with their beaks and claws, tugging and fighting as if each wished to have it to himself. "Well," said the huntsman, "it's wonderful. It's really come to pass just as the old wife foretold." And he took his gun from his shoulder, aimed and fired right into the midst of them so that the feathers flew about. Now the birds instantly took to flight with loud outcries, but one dropped dead, and the cloak fell at the same time. Then the huntsman did as the old woman directed him, cut open the bird, sought the heart, swallowed it down, and took the cloak with him. Next morning, when he awoke, the promise occurred to him, and he wished to see if it had also been fulfilled. When he lifted up the pillow, the gold piece shone in his eyes, and next day he found another, and so it went on every time he got up. He gathered together a heap of gold, but at last he thought, "Of what use is my gold to me if I stay at home? I will go forth and see the world." He took leave of his parents, buckled on his huntsman's pouch and gun, and went out. It came to pass that one day he travelled through a dense forest, and when he came to the end of it, in the plain before him stood a fine castle. An old woman was standing with a wonderfully beautiful maiden looking out of one of the windows. The old woman, however, was a witch, and said to the maiden, "There comes one out of the forest who has a wonderful treasure in his body. We must filch it from him, my dear daughter, for it is more suitable for us than him. He has a bird's heart about him, by means of which a gold piece lies every morning under his pillow." She told her what she was to do to get it, and what part she had to play, and finally threatened her, and said with angry eyes, "And if you do not attend to what I say, it will be worse for you." Now, when the huntsman came near, he descried the maiden, and said to himself, "I have travelled about for such a long time, I will take a rest for once, and enter that beautiful castle. I certainly have money enough." Nevertheless, the reason was, he had caught sight of the pretty girl. He entered the house, and was well received and courteously entertained. Before long he was so much in love with the young witch, he no longer thought of anything else, and only saw things as she saw them, and did what she desired. The old woman then said, "Now we must have the bird's heart. He will never miss it." She prepared a drink, and when it was ready, poured it into a cup and gave it to the maiden, who was to present it to the huntsman, saying, "Dearest, drink to me." So he took the cup, and when he saw the draught, he brought up the heart of the bird. The girl had to take it away secretly and swallow it herself, for the old woman would have it so. Thenceforward he found no more gold under his pillow, but it lay instead under that of the young maiden, from whence the old woman fetched it away every morning. But he was so much in love and so befooled, he thought of nothing else but of passing his time with the girl. Then the old witch said, "We have the bird's heart, but we must also take the wishing cloak away from him." The girl answered, "We will leave him that. He has lost his wealth." The old woman was angry, and said, "Such a mantle is a wonderful thing, and seldom is to be found in this world. I must and will have it." She gave the girl several blows, and said if she did not obey, it would fare ill with her. So she did the old woman's bidding, placed herself at the window, and looked on the distant country as if she were sorrowful. And the huntsman asked, "Why do you stand there sorrowfully?" "Oh, my beloved," was her answer, "over lies the garnet mountain, where the precious stones grow. I long for them so much that when I think of them I feel quite sad. But who can get them? Only birds. They fly and can reach them, but a man never." "Have you nothing else to complain of?" said the huntsman. "I will soon remove that burden from your heart." With that he drew her under his mantle, wished himself on the garnet mountain, and in the twinkling of an eye they were sitting on it together. Precious stones glinted on every side, so it was a joy to see them, and together they gathered the finest and costliest of them. Now, the old woman had, through her sorceries, contrived the eyes of the huntsman should grow heavy. He said to the maiden, "Let's sit and rest a while. I am so tired I can no longer stand on my feet." So they sat, and he laid his head in her lap and fell asleep. While he was asleep, she unfastened the mantle from his shoulders, wrapped herself in it, picked up the garnets and stones, and wished herself back at home. But when the huntsman had had his sleep out and awoke, and perceived that his sweetheart had betrayed him and left him alone on the mountain, he said, "What treachery there is in the world," and sat down in care and sorrow, not knowing what to do. The mountain belonged to some wild and monstrous giants who dwelt thereon and lived their lives there, and he hadn't sat long before he saw 3 of them coming toward him, so he lay down as if he were sunk in a deep sleep. Then the giants came up, and the first kicked him with his foot and said, "What sort of earthworm is lying curled up here?" The second said, "Step on it and kill it." But the third said, "That would indeed be worth your while. Let him live. He cannot remain here. When he climbs higher toward the summit of the mountain, the clouds will lay hold of him and bear him away." So saying, they passed by. But the huntsman paid heed to their words, and as soon as they were gone, he rose and climbed to the summit of the mountain, and when he had sat there a while, a cloud floated toward him, caught him up, carried him away, and travelled about for a long time in the heavens. Then it sank lower and let itself down on a great cabbage garden, girt round by walls, and he came softly to the ground on cabbages and vegetables. Then the huntsman looked about and said, "If I had but something to eat, I am so hungry, and my hunger will increase in course of time. But I see here neither apples nor pears nor any other sort of fruit. Everywhere is nothing but cabbages." At length he thought, "At a pinch I can eat some of the leaves. They do not taste particularly good, but they will refresh me." With that he picked himself out a fine head of cabbage and ate it. But scarcely had he swallowed a couple mouthfuls than he felt quite strange and different. 4 legs grew on him, a large head with thick 2 ears, and he saw with horror he had been changed into an ass. Still, as his hunger increased every minute and the juicy leaves were suitable to his present nature, he continued to eat with great zest. At last he arrived at a different kind of cabbage, but as soon as he had swallowed it, he again felt the change and reassumed his former human shape. Then the huntsman lay down and slept off his fatigue. When he awoke next morning, he broke off 1 head of the bad cabbage and another of the good, and thought to himself, "This shall help me get my own again and punish the treachery." Then he took the cabbages with him, climbed over the wall, and went forth to seek for the castle of his sweetheart. After wandering about for a couple of days, he was lucky to find it again. He dyed his face brown so his own mother would not have known him, and begged for shelter. "I am so tired," said he, "I can go no farther." The witch asked, "And who are you, countryman? What is your business?" "I am a king's messenger, and was sent out to seek the most delicious salad that grows beneath the sun. I have been fortunate enough to find it, and am carrying it about with me, but the heat of the sun is so intense the delicate cabbage threatens to wither, and I do not know if I can carry it farther." When the old woman heard of this exquisite salad, she was greedy, and said, "Dear countryman, just let me taste this wonderful salad." "Why not?" said he. "I have brought 2 heads with me, and I will give you 1. So he opened his pouch and handed her the bad cabbage. The witch suspected nothing amiss, and her mouth watered so for this new dish, she herself went to the kitchen and dressed it. When it was prepared, she could not wait till it was set on the table, but took a couple of leaves at once, and put them in her mouth. But hardly had she swallowed them than she was deprived of her human shape, and ran out into the courtyard in the form of an ass. Presently the maidservant entered the kitchen, saw the salad standing there ready prepared, and was about to carry it up. But on the way, according to habit, she was seized by a desire to taste, and ate a couple of leaves. Instantly the magic power showed itself, and she likewise became an ass, and ran out to the old woman, and the dish of salad fell to the ground. Meantime the messenger sat beside the beautiful girl, and as no one came with the salad, and she also longed for it, she said, "I don't know what has become of the salad." The huntsman thought the salad must already have taken effect, and he said, "I will go to the kitchen and inquire about it." As he went down, he saw the 2 asses running about in the courtyard. The salad, however, was lying on the ground. "All right," said he, "the 2 have taken their portion," and he picked up the other leaves, laid them on the dish, and carried them to the maiden. "I bring you the delicate food myself," said he, "in order that you have to wait no longer." Then she ate of it, and was, like the others, immediately deprived of her human form, and ran out into the courtyard. After the huntsman had washed his face so that the transformed ones could recognize him, he went down to the courtyard and said, "Now you shall receive the wages of your treachery," and bound them together, all 3 with 1 rope, and drove them along till they came to a mill. He knocked at the window. The miller put out his head and asked what he wanted. "I have 3 unmanageable beasts," said he, "and I don't want to keep them any longer. Will you take them in and give them food and stable room, and manage them as I tell you, and I will pay you what you ask?" The miller said, "Why not? But how am I to manage them?" The huntsman said he was to give 3 beatings and 1 meal daily to the old donkey. That was the witch. 1 beating and 3 meals to younger one, which was the servant girl, and to the youngest of all, which was the maiden, no beatings and 3 meals, for he could not bring himself to have the maiden beaten. And after that he went back to the castle and found therein everything he needed. After a couple of days the miller came and said he must inform him the old ass, which had received 3 beatings and only 1 meal daily, was dead. The 2 others, he continued, are certainly not dead and fed 3 times daily, but they are so sad they cannot last much longer. The huntsman was moved to pity, put away his anger, and told the miller to drive them back again to him. When they came, he gave them some of the good salad, so they became human again. The beautiful girl fell on her knees before him and said, "My beloved, forgive me the evil I have done you. My mother drove me to do it. It was done against my will, for I love you dearly. Your wishing cloak hangs in a cupboard, and as for the bird's nest, I will take a vomiting potion." But he thought otherwise and said, "Keep it, for it is all the same. I will keep you as my wife." So the wedding was celebrated, and they lived happily together until their death. The end.